the day before is actually launching. That is unbelievable. There is no way that this game is gonna be anything else but an absolutely legendary level of S show, okay?
I almost can't believe it. It has been a long, strange road, but we are
True.
finally approaching the finish line of the saga that is the day before. That's right, believe it or not, it appears like the game is actually going to release, but not before them sneaking in one final last-minute delay, as it should be playable right now as I speak. No, they missed that scheduled November release, pushing it back just a few more weeks, and will now be launching on December the 7th. Now, it's been just about 2 months now since our last video covering the day before, and a lot has happened.
Okay, get your votes in. Is this gonna be as bad as Fallout 76? Is this gonna be as bad as Redfall? Or is the general experience just gonna be like Starfield Tears of I wish it was at least mid?
So I want to catch you up on everything that's taken place and let you know what to expect from the game now that, now that it's actually here. Well, it's almost here. No more delays. Right? I'm sure. So on November the 1st, they released what was called the final trailer, a roughly 3-minute overview showing some gameplay, footage of numerous locations, and to my surprise, a fair bit of systems and features, way more than I expected the game to have. We saw combat with a few clips of players fighting zombies, even engaging other players, putting them in this down but not out state. We get another glimpse of the base of operations that look to have NPCs, vendors, crafting stations, and even other players running around. They also made mention of the spa and gym areas, which I'm presuming could be things like buff mechanics, like say you sit in the spa for a minute and you get a boost to stamina for the next hour.
That sounds completely stupid.
Something along those lines. We saw the player pulling out a digital pad in order to both see and accept side quests. We get a good look at the final version of the inventory system. Pretty standard survival inventory with spots for equipment, weapons, and even pockets. And then there was the backpack storage, which had a tile-based system where larger items take up more space. In terms of items that they...
I don't like tile-based systems. I much rather have a weight mechanic, honestly, than a tile-based system. Tile-based systems are just kind of boring. Playing inventory Tetris is just... I'm done with it, okay?
It appears to be all of the stuff you expect from a survival game: food, water, meds, ammunition, throwables, and a currency. There look to be survival mechanics in the form of a health bar, as well as stamina and thirst meters. We get a brief look at the ranch, which is what they're calling a safe space where you can place furniture, decorations, do some crafting. There's an encumbrance system, apparently, not surprising. There was a weight indicator, and we get a look at the character creator where you can choose from an assortment of faces.
Wait. How can you have a weight system and a Tetris backpack system? That sounds horrible to have both of them.
Hair, eyes, facial hair, and colors for just about everything. Some personality options even. Frankly, not a bad looking trailer. Like, they've gotten better on this front.
Yeah, what he showed didn't seem that bad, so... I mean, there's no way this doesn't just blow up completely. Just from the fact that at one point this game was not supposed to come out and canceled, that's it, everything's GG. That means that they were not developing it, obviously, at least at that point. So, there is no way that this is not absolutely just, diaper tier diarrhea.
Front for sure, presenting what looks to be an actual functional game with a few systems. Great, hope it pans out, right? Although I'd be remiss to neglect having noticed how the day before continues its tradition of pulling inspiration from other franchises. So, for example, the name of the city in the day before is New Fortune City. Fortune City also just happens to be the name of the LA-inspired location found in Dead Rising 2. And then there's the fact that the name of the survivor colony in the day before is apparently Woodbury Colony. Woodbury is also the name of a major survival colony location in The Walking Dead. And it turns out the entire presentation...
Yeah, taking inspiration from The Walking Dead is probably a horrible idea. Because, man, The Walking Dead, I have seen every episode of it, okay? At least from the original series. Man, I hate watched it to infinity. Every single time I'm just watching it, I'm like, oh, how many teleporting zombies will there be this time? Oh, 5 only this episode. Wow, kind of low. How many... Dude, The Walking Dead as a franchise is just the worst thing ever currently, okay? Story plots are not consistent, not fleshed out, nothing. This is how the last the 5 story plots are, spoiler alert, I guess, revolved in The Walking Dead. Baddie appears, baddie kills people, baddie does bad things, baddie is unstoppable. Then it's the mid part where everyone's getting tired of baddie, so people start to do something. And then at the end, because there was not enough time to flesh everything out, they just unceremoniously killed the baddie in one episode, but like it was nothing. No struggle, no anything, and you're like, wow, all this time spent setting up this baddie, and then they just in one episode in less than 30 seconds pretty much just get deleted, and the logic plot holes are just amazing, honestly, at everything. It's crazy. Okay, and now there's a Daryl series of The Walking Dead, and it's in France. Oh my god, from the worst places in the world, and you're making it in of all the places in the world, and you pick France. Wow, what was it? Germany was not available for a shit show? And, well, the zombies have special abilities. Not that that honestly matters. It's the fact that even our main character now is literally teleporting, okay? I'm not kidding you. I watched only 1 episode. No, 2 episodes. And in the first or second episode, there's the situation where the evil people, because they're evil, for some reason now are in a monastery, and they're gonna do evil things. And Daryl needs to stop it. And you know what happens? They're in an open space. Everyone's looking at each other. They're almost in a circle. And you know what happens? Daryl just teleports on to the back of the bad guy. No, seriously. There's one guy standing right there, and there's one guy looking. They're looking at each other. And Daryl just teleports to the side of one guy and just kills him. And then all of the rest of the baddies don't do anything and just... Yeah, it is. Any game that takes any inspiration from The Walking Dead is gonna fail, because that show, that everything is just so bad.
Structure and style of this trailer is eerily similar to several other game trailers, notably that of Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead 2, and Cyberpunk. A YouTuber named Randomly pieced together some examples here, and it's pretty striking how close bits of these trailers are to their other trailers.
The weapons, which can be modified, are made with maximum realism to ensure that combat remains deep and engaging at all times.
Make combat deep and engaging at all times.
Each weapon boasts unique characteristics, as well as realistic reload and recoil mechanics.
Each weapon has unique characteristics, with realistic reload and recoil.
Welcome to the next generation of post-apocalyptic MMO open-world survival games.
Welcome to the next generation of open-world adventure.
Immerse yourself in the day before.
Immerse yourself in Cyberpunk 2077.
I'm not gonna lie, this is not a red flag for me, okay? It's not like any of these trailers have said anything unique that has never been said before. It's just the most generic things possible.
As we've talked about in the past, are any of these individual things that much of a big deal on their own? No, not really, but it's just more to add to the pile of other franchises that this game has pulled inspiration from. You know, the trailer that they released that was a shot-for-shot, one-for-one, back-to-back identical ripoff of a Call of Duty Black Ops trailer. Them using the nearly identical logo, font, and framing to that was used in The Last of Us. And them having several screenshots that had compositions pretty darn identical to that of other popular.
Oh, walking through a street and the camera angle is from down low? I mean, some of these feel like slightly reaches. Then again, they probably did steal it, but you know, in general, if someone shows me something like this and say, look at that, it's a guy walking through the street in an apocalyptic game, I'm like, oh my god, from which of the other 250 million survival games did they steal this from? A guy walking through a street, I have never seen that before, wow. No, I have so stolen, no. I mean, they 100%, by the way, completely just looked at good trailers that people liked and then just stole them. That's 100%. But calling this unique, I mean, like, that's reaching.
Other games. Again, any one of these things on their own, not a big deal, but this list keeps stacking up of like, boy, the inspiration to the point of infringement is what we're looking to have here, but whatever. That's not the point of this video, really. Let's get on to more of the updates. So moving on. Now, as mentioned the day before, it was set to release on November 10th. That has come and gone. And we found out at the very end of that trailer, we just recapped that the new release date will be December the 7th. So roughly a month delay. Now, this isn't the first time they've had a last minute delay. Not the second, third, or fourth either. Actually, the fifth delay as far as I know. Not that we're counting. And not that it really matters, honestly, though, because in the end, if the game's not ready, yeah, don't release it. That is the correct decision. I am not one to suggest releasing unfinished games just to get them out sooner. No, finish the game and then launch it. But that isn't actually what they're doing either, because one notable difference with this delay from the previous launches that they were planning is that now the game is looking to be coming into Steam Early Access, whereas in the past, all of their other release dates were for the full version of the game. To me, this is a pretty clear-cut admission from the developer that the game will...
Wait a minute. Why do you have an apocalypse where all of the fruit were not taken and eaten? That kind of makes... I mean, they're rotten, clearly, by the way, but, you know, how do you get into an apocalypse where all this fruit just doesn't get eaten when it starts or something, you know?
Their other release dates were for the full version of the game. To me, this is a pretty clear-cut admission from the developer that the game will not be finished. Now, I suspected that that might be the case with or without the early access classification, but at least now they're coming out and saying right away, hey, this game won't be complete when you get your hands on it. So the day before, we'll be joining the pantheon of early access zombie survival MMOs. Nice. At this point, I'm almost convinced that it's impossible for this genre of game not to release into early access. We will see if the day before ends up any better.
I mean, if there's hype, you have to release a zombie MMO game, survival, blah, blah, blah. Because you know it's not going to survive long, right? People are going to get tired of it real fast.
Better at its early access launch.
Zombie games, I think, only really see super big success in single-player modes. And if it's not that, it's... Well, maybe Left 4 Dead is, like, the only exception, almost. Call of Duty Zombies, I guess, are also true. But, you know, Call of Duty is just a giant juggernaut of a franchise. So, you know, even if 10% of the player base plays zombies, that's still a lot of people, technically.
Than the other zombie survival MMOs. Now, as I said, yes, a game has made its way back onto Steam. With that comes some fresh screenshots, the latest trailer, as well as some new detailed bullet points about the game and its early access launch. So when they describe the game, they say, you know, you're gonna be fighting other players for survival, you'll be surviving against the deadly infected, the zombies, and...
What's with the shoot? What the hell is... Who's shooting?
Collecting value.
I noticed this previously when some... Here. When the guy just sprayed and prayed and continued shooting while dragging his mouse, probably controller, to another enemy. Like, what the hell is this?
Loot. In terms of the world, they say we'll be exploring this beautiful, rich, detailed new Fortune City, entering tall skyscrapers, business centers, massive malls, grand stadiums, and more. Love the idea of them having buildings that you can actually go into, because that's not always the case in these like open world zombie survival games. They mentioned how we'll be exploring in and around the city with a whole bunch of vehicles, which we've seen a few examples of, and rebuilding society as we join the Woodbury Survival Colony, trading items with other survivors to accumulate wealth, which we can spend on a variety of things, and then even building
I hope there's prostitutes.
Our own home in the safe zone, which is that ranch that we discussed earlier. Now, of the decision to come into early access, the developer said, the game is in early access because this is our first huge game at Fantastic, and there may be unforeseen circumstances. Early access allows us to refine and improve the game in collaboration with the community. Pretty standard fare there. As for what the game will actually have when it comes out next month, well, they've said that the day before we'll be launching as a playable multiplayer game, allowing people to fully immerse themselves in this post-apocalyptic open-world MMO survival game, all set in present-day US East Coast following a deadly pandemic. Players can explore the
It doesn't look bad, honestly. It doesn't look super good, but it doesn't look bad. Definitely better than Starfield, but I mean, that's not a tall order technically. But in any case, No, it's gonna be so full of bugs, it's gonna be barely playable. There's no way this is not an absolute disaster.
Beautifully detail New Fortune City and its surroundings, fight each other using realistic weapons, complete quests, build their own houses, buy cars, experience day-night changes, and face deadly infected. They then added that
that
it
a
will be in
clown?
early access for anywhere between 6 and 8 months, although they said that might change, and that the full version of the game will include additional content, items, weapons, equipment, cars, and houses, and it will cost more upon its full release. All of these statements and things being fairly boilerplate, pretty run-of-the-mill statements made for just about every game that enters early access. Not a lot of surprises here. Now, in returning to Steam, the game once again became eligible for wishlisting, and wouldn't you
Oh,
know it,
boy.
it's actually back near the top of Steam wishlist once again. I'm not sure
I mean, it doesn't look that bad. I don't care if they stole this from The Last of Us. Literally could not care less, okay? Manor Lords. Oh, interesting.
if this is a fresh placement or if any of the prior wish lists just carried over when the Steam page came back online, but either way, it's back near the top of the list. Now, as I've stated numerous times in my prior coverage of this game, I think this once again points to the community's desire for a new zombie survival MMO.
Yep,
There is a
true.
massive appetite for this sort of a game.
We haven't had a zombie survival game in quite a while, huh?
It is very appealing, but so few new ones are being made. The fact that this developer, with the track record they have, with all of the red flags that have been raised around this particular game, none of that matters. People just want a new survival zombie MMO, and this thing at least looks passable, and so people are very excited. That on top of the fact that the average consumer doesn't pay attention to this stuff. They're not watching these videos. They don't particularly care. They see a game, they see pretty screenshots and a decently put together trailer. That's enough to get it on their wish list for many people. And so, frankly, I'm not surprised that it's back near the top. It's not number one. I think as of this recording, it's sitting at place number 2. But yeah, crazy as it may sound to any of us who have been following this saga, lots of people still really looking forward to this game. And hey, I mean, I count myself among them. I know everything there is to know about the history of this developer, about everything they've showed and discussed and revealed about this game, about all of their botched communication and marketing, about all of the issues and flags and raised concerns, about the fact that every one of their games has basically been a massive flop or failure and they've abandoned.
Wait, they had this game? Wow.
Any game they've
Wasn't it like hot for 5 seconds? There's no way. Is that Redfall?
released in early access so far has been
No. That's just this prop hunt
abandoned.
game.
Doesn't bode well for this.
I mean, the prop hunt game honestly was not a bad idea. I don't know why it didn't succeed. I think it was hot for a day or two, honestly, and that's it.
This one, but hey, maybe they turn things around. But even with all of that knowledge, I'm like, dude, I just want to see if the game is good. It's probably not going to be. I don't have many expectations of the game. Still want to find out, right? Still want to know. So sure, yeah, if I use the Steam's wish list, I would probably be on my Steam's wish list as well. All of this preamble to its release almost really doesn't matter until we play the game, but I just find this everything about this so interesting. So that
Everything about this is a ginormous red flag. There's no way this doesn't flop harder than... I don't even know an example. What even flops? Flappy Bird? There's no way this flops harder than Flappy Bird. Even though Flappy Bird flaps in a good way.
That's why I continue to talk about and cover it. After releasing that trailer and revealing that new launch date and coming back to Steam, fantastic action.
Okay. Who the hell designs a shopping mall like this? This is stupid. You're wasting so much space.
He released a statement on Twitter in attempt to, I guess, provide some clarification as to what's been going on with the game, the current state, and everything. So here's what they said. We won back our name the day before. This was confirmed by the decision of the Intellectual Property Tribunal. We dedicated this victory to all our future players, and it's all for them. For 5 years, we have been doing our best to give people this dream. We also want to thank our volunteers for their constant support and faith of us. They just continue to double down on this volunteer thing. I think when they first revealed that they use volunteers or unpaid help, there was such a huge backlash online, and then they came back and clarified that they consider everyone who works for them volunteers. It's just that some of them are unpaid and some of them are paid. It's like a
Why get even mad about this? Dude, if you go into a game and you beta test it for someone, that's your fucking fault, okay? How is it their fault that some people are stupid enough to work for free? How? I mean, no one forced them to work on this game, but they did it so anyway. Why get mad about this? This is like natural selection to a degree.
Volunteer spirit, so they have to keep bringing it up. They have to keep being like, yeah, dude, we got volunteers. What? The next statement they made was that the Steam page has been restored by Valve and will be ready soon. They said that the game's release, as we discussed, has been delayed to December 7th. It will be launching at 10 a.m. Pacific time. It will be coming to early access, as this is their first huge game, as they say, and there may be unforeseen circumstances. And they say that the full release version of the game, they are certain will be the best game possible. They believe that player feedback.
If you have been paying attention, by the way, to the movement of the NPCs, it's so janky. It is so janky. Stopping the death animations. When someone gets shot in the head and then suddenly they plop like this, it's just, this game is going to be a disaster at launch. There's no way.
Back and involvement will greatly contribute to achieving this goal, and the next-gen console version of the game will be coming at full release. I guess that's the other point to mention. Originally, this game's launch was supposed to be PC and console simultaneously, but now with this early access launch, they have pushed back the console planned version, so it's just coming to PC.
Console plebs need to know their place.
Via Steam Early Access. Console will be once it's left Early Access. And then finally, they claim here that the game will be priced at $39 for Early Access, $49 during its full release, and that there will be no pre-orders for the game. Okay, so there you have it. A pretty straightforward statement, really not much to say about it. They're just kind of recapping all of the major points. I think that first line with them talking about like winning back the name and them dedicating dedicating that victory to all of their future players and thanking their volunteers. You know, I know part of the kind of awkwardness in a lot of the communication from this developer, it's just language barrier. Like, without question, that is the case. The way they present and structure sentences and the things that they're saying and the kind of what we're getting as results, they're not native English speakers, and it's obvious in how statements are phrased. So I'm not going to rail against them for not, like, having perfect sentence structure. It's just sometimes hard to parse what's, like, poorly translated and what's just, like, strange statements, you know what I mean? And maybe they're one and the same, but so much of like some of the press releases and statements that they've made around this game just have been real head scratchers. This has been one of the least head scratching statements. This is for the most part, it's fairly good. And yeah, I don't want to harp on like issues with language translation. It's the core message that's more important, but it's also the core message that feels so awkward a lot of times with these things. And with that said, something else they did just earlier this week that also has me like scratching my head like, what? They revealed a partnership with a ride-sharing service called InDrive. Far as I could tell, InDrive is some sort of an Uber alternative. Nice. So they said the day before, InDrive collaboration. InDrive is this international ride-hailing service headquartered in California. It's the second largest ride-sharing and taxi app worldwide by downloads. Are you ready for December 7th? We really can't wait. Hashtag day before, hashtag InDrive. So I guess it's just like InDrive branded cars will be in the day before, and I don't know, maybe there's like a...
So the day before is doing this, what I thought a lot of other games are going to start doing, okay? And it's obviously just getting sponsorships for some kind of, you know, car brands and things like that, so they put their cars into their games and things like that, you know? Billboard posters of something that's found on real life and stuff like that. Dude, gaming is heading in that direction, okay? There is no way to avoid it. Soon you're gonna be loading into GTA 6. Well, I say soon, but most of us are gonna die of old age before that probably happens. Soon, before we die of old age, we're gonna be loading into GTA 6, and every cereal that you see is gonna be a real cereal that you can buy. Every car is gonna be a real car that you can buy. Property is gonna be real. Everything is gonna be just a giant advertisement.
Service. Maybe there's like side quest where you can play as an InDrive driver and get paid to pick up other players who hail your taxi. It's just strange. It's just like I saw this and I was like, what? It's just so much.
Maybe it's the fast travel system.
This game, again, it's a real head scratcher. Let's not harp on it. Let's move on. I know at this point what you're asking yourself, right? You're wondering, hey, Force, the day before beta, When is it happening? And that's a good question because, yes, if you don't recall, earlier this year in April, Fantastic said they're going to be hosting a beta some weeks prior to the game coming out in order to do the beta thing and make sure that it has a smooth release. Well, we got an update on the beta with an interview with IGN. We learned that the beta, it's still happening. Great news. Bad news, it's only for Fantastic volunteers. As we mentioned, volunteers is the word that they use for their staff, for their developers.
Wait, so normal volunteers are not good enough, but now you need to be a fantastic volunteer? Dude.
They just have paid volunteers and unpaid volunteers. So that beta that they announced back in April, this isn't a beta test like you or I may be used to, where they get external people to come in, get access to the game in order to test it in some capacity. No, they are having an internal volunteer only beta, which is basically just them making the game. Like when you make a game, the internal studio plays and tests the game as part of it, and sometimes they get like a QA thing.
Blizzard doesn't.
They'll either hire it out or, you know, Fantastic isn't hiring anybody, right? They're going to get their unpaid volunteers to test it, and that's exactly what's happening. So when they announced a beta, it wasn't saying, hey guys, get ready to play the beta. They were just saying, hey, our employees are going to be playing the beta. Like what? Again, the head scratching. I don't know. So that is up to date.
It just generates extra hype. It's actually pretty smart, you know? Most people don't understand that. Most people are like currently going on and looking at, hey, how can I become a super special volunteer in the day before? And then they're like, that's unpaid internship, buddy. And they're like, okay, might as well be an unpaid intern because this is beta, right? What? It's probably gonna work. Dude, if you're an unpaid intern in anything, you know, that can't even be put on your resume, like, damn, boy, you stupid.
As of now, everything that's been going on with the day before since our last video about 2 months ago. And where we are today is about 3 weeks away from the December 7th final official release of the game. The final one, no more delays. They promise. They aren't doing a 6th delay or a 7th delay. This is it, right? And if that happens and the game comes out and we can finally play it, what are my expectations? Well, my expectations are the same that I would have for any zombie survival game that's launching into Steam Early Access. Pretty low. You add to that the fact that this is a developer with a poor track record. They've made some unbelievable blunders in their marketing, in their messaging, all of the inspiration that they're taking, all of the vertical slices and videos that they've since
I like that they're taking inspiration from other games, aka stealing. If you want to make a good game, yeah, you don't reinvent the wheel. Improve upon the wheel. No one's asking you to create a completely new concept of gaming. Just make a good game. I don't care what you steal, how you steal it, or how many people get injured or even get deleted. As long as the game's good. And I'm not a victim, okay? I don't care. Sue The Last of Us and get their game built into yours. I don't even care. As long as it's good.
Deleted that are not at all representative of what this final version is going to be. The studio consisting of mostly entirely volunteers, many of which, as far as we know, are unpaid. Takes the low expectations I might have for zombie survival.
Well, anyway, that's the wrap up. Well, that was Force. Good stuff, my boys. Anyway, yeah, this was also Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.